Dear friends, welcome to Butter Versions, One Book a Week video series, a channel dedicated to sharing knowledge for holistic self-development through great books. There's a famous saying, our lives change in two ways, through the people we meet and through the books we read. But in this world, there are countless books, an endless ocean, and your time is limited. So, have you chosen the right books for yourself yet? One of Butter Versions' criteria for choosing books to read is selecting those frequently cited or mentioned by many authors. This is because they are like a leading big fish in a school of fish in the vast ocean. Among all the psychology books I've ever read, the book I'm about to discuss today is also considered one of those big fish. This book is titled Thinking, Fast and Slow *. Its Vietnamese translation is Tu Dai Nhan Va Cam. The author is Daniel Kahneman, who won the Nobel Memorial Prize in Economic Sciences in 2002. He was also the first psychologist to win a Nobel Prize in Economics since its inception. Richard Thaler, who won the Nobel Prize in Economic Sciences in 2017, was also his student. Both of them researched the same topic, irrationality. I read this book a long time ago, but because of its very academic and in-depth nature, I never thought I would share it through a video on the channel. However, I've noticed that friends in the book-loving community, as well as those who have been following my channel, are increasingly eager to delve deeper into reading, and many have expressed interest in this particular book. So, I believe it's incredibly important for us not to stop at merely practical or instrumental books, but also to read profound books to understand fundamental principles. While these books may not provide an immediate tool to solve problems or instantly change your life, they will grant you great wisdom and lead you to understand yourself better. You often hear the phrase, follow your gut feeling, don't you? This statement might sound like a good idea, and it's true that you can solve life's problems by acting on your intuition. However, the countless pitfalls we've stumbled into in the past show us that most of the time, relying on intuition to make decisions is unreliable. We are easily misled by cognitive biases, temporary emotions, and vivid impressions, leading to incorrect judgments and wrong decisions. This is because, as author Daniel Kahneman points out, in most cases, humans are not rational. So, how can we avoid cognitive errors in the decision-making process? How can we properly understand the irrationality in human thought? Next, I will share with you the most concise insights from Thinking, Fast and Slow to help you avoid cognitive errors, improve your judgment, and make better personal decisions. First, before looking for solutions to improve our judgment and decision-making abilities, we need to understand how our brain thinks. Why is this book called Thinking, Fast and Slow *? Because we inherently have two systems of thought in our brains, fast thinking and slow thinking. The author named them System 1 and System 2. What is System 1? For example, if you see a girl frowning and staring at you, you immediately know she's angry. This doesn't require you to think or evaluate her mood, just a glance is enough for you to make that judgment. Or, if I ask you, what is 2 plus 6? You can easily answer, 8. Anything that is too easy, too simple, something we don't have to think about, is under the control of System 1. However, if I ask you, what is 48x 23? At this point, you will have to pause and think slowly. You'll need to do mental arithmetic. This requires a certain level of concentration, a period of thought, and compels you to use System 2. System 1 is the intuitive system. It thinks unconsciously, quickly, based on intuition, and doesn't require much brain power. It operates entirely in an autonomous state, like autopilot. This is similar to what I once discussed about the elephant and the rider in my video on procrastination. When our brain is on autopilot, it feels very happy because it doesn't have to work hard or expend energy. As for System 2, it is the rational system. It demands mental activity that requires high concentration and is based on human reason. Therefore, it also needs a lot of brain energy to operate and tends to be relatively slow. These two systems seem to be opposite, but their thought processes combine and interact. For simple problems, the fast thinking system relies on experience and intuition to quickly make judgments. When faced with complex problems that the fast thinking system cannot solve, the slow thinking system is activated and proceeds to engage in rational thought. As the book states, When intuition runs into trouble, reason steps in to solve it. Here's where the problem lies. People often think this sounds very reasonable. However, psychological experiments show us that irrationality is the basis for most of our actions. That is, most of our decisions and actions are not rational. Why is this so? You must understand that the human brain is very lazy. It doesn't want to focus attention and doesn't want to expend a lot of energy. Due to this inertia, the human brain tends to fully accept System 1's judgments, and ultimately, fast thinking becomes the front desk, making all our decisions. Our over-reliance on the fast thinking system can lead to a very serious problem: biased judgment. In the next section, Butter version will summarize for you the 3 most typical biases and 4 effects in the fast thinking system that cause you to have biased perceptions and make wrong decisions. See if you recognize these thinking habits in yourself. First, let's talk about the 3 biases. 1. Representativeness bias asterisk. We humans have a habit of focusing too much on typical things, ignoring the potential probabilities behind them. For example, when you see someone reading a book on the subway or bus, you tend to think they must be a highly educated person. 2. Availability bias asterisk asterisk. If an event appears vivid in our minds, it is considered more likely to occur. For example, many people tend to drive or take trains more often when they hear news of recent plane crashes. 3. Causality bias asterisk asterisk. Most people like to force cause and effect explanations for events, regardless of whether they are true or not. For example, when an athlete performs poorly in a competition, people will start looking for many unfounded reasons, such as them being too stressed, unlucky, or lacking focus in training, all just to explain the outcome. These are 3 cognitive biases. So, what are the 4 effects that lead to cognitive biases and cause us to make wrong decisions? 1. The halo effect asterisk. You're beautiful, you're brilliant, everything you say is right. This is a highly subjective statement, isn't it? It reflects a very strong cognitive bias, but most of us are often influenced by this psychological effect. The halo effect means that the first information we receive about something will influence our overall judgment of the entire matter. For example, the celebrity effect is one of the most typical halo effects. It's not hard to see that most advertisements we watch feature celebrities. You rarely see a lesser-known person starring in an ad because celebrities are already widely recognized by the public. Therefore, products endorsed and used by celebrities are more easily trusted and purchased by people. Its drawback is that we can easily become blinded by our fondness for the celebrity and fail to rationally evaluate whether the product is truly good, suitable, or necessary for ourselves. Or, when we like someone, even if we don't know much about them, we still tend to view all aspects of that person as positive, and vice versa. Love me, love my dog. Hate me, hate my whole family. This is why first impressions are so crucial. 2. The anchoring effect asterisk asterisk. Cognitive distortion caused by prior information. This effect means that when we evaluate something, people are influenced by prior information. Then, we preemptively set an answer and perform adjustment actions based on that very answer. For example, during promotions, the original price is crossed out and displayed next to the discounted price. Sellers are utilizing the anchoring effect, causing buyers to receive information about the original price beforehand, thereby influencing their purchasing decision. 3. The framing effect asterisk. This effect means that for the same objective problem or object, people will describe it differently, leading to different judgments and decisions. For example, with the same patient undergoing surgery, a doctor might tell the patient's family in 2 ways. The survival rate is 90%, and the mortality rate is 10%. Most people who hear the first statement, the survival rate is 90%, will feel that the situation is more positive. 4. The endowment effect asterisk asterisk. When people own an item, they tend to feel it is more valuable. For example, businesses today often promise customers 7-day no questions asked returns. But this is how merchants use the endowment effect on consumers. When you receive the product, you will overestimate its value, and you will almost never want to return it unless it had a problem upon receipt. In other words, we overestimate the value of things we like and use. We gradually develop affection and attachment to them and hate the thought of losing them. What I've just listed are the most typical cognitive habits that show our brain has limitations that are hard to articulate. We always believe in what we are familiar with, but clearly, we cannot know the extent of our ignorance, and we always overestimate our understanding of the world. So, how can we avoid cognitive errors with these biases and illusions in perception? We seem to be able to make decisions easily using System 1, but it leads to all sorts of irrational decisions. To make better decisions, Butter version has summarized some methods after reading this book for you. The first method is that we need to clearly understand our own thinking style asterisk. Once we understand it, we can make appropriate adjustments. The typical thinking habits I've summarized above are just a few. The book contains many more psychological effects that you can read about to see if you have these habits. The second thing we need to do is to always remind ourselves not to over-rely on System 1 asterisk asterisk. The best way is to slow down your thinking before making a decision or facing a problem. Remember that we must tell ourselves to take time to think before choosing to decide or act. The third thing we need to do is to fully engage System 2 asterisk asterisk. System 2 operates in many forms, but it has one common characteristic. It requires focus. We tend to favor System 1 because our attention is limited. We are easily distracted, and our minds are filled with hundreds, even thousands, of random thoughts every day. For System 2 to activate in time to make a better decision, we need to concentrate. To help us improve our concentration, I have been practicing meditation and mindfulness. Believe me, this is a truly effective way to help you improve your focus and enhance your life experience. And fourth, we must pay special attention not to let ourselves be hungry when making decisions asterisk. When our body's energy is low, the slow thinking system becomes lazier. Experiments show that whether a prisoner's parole application is successful depends on whether the judge has eaten or not. If the judge reviews the application after eating, the success rate can be as high as 65%, double the usual average. Moreover, when in a state of hunger or thirst, people are very prone to acting impulsively and often operate on autopilot. Meanwhile, when the brain operates using System 2, it requires a lot of energy. Therefore, ensure you have sufficient energy before making an important decision or judgment. In essence, the core to controlling System 1 and activating System 2 is to slow down the thought process asterisk. In addition, the author also gives us two other particularly important suggestions to compensate for the shortcomings of the fast thinking system. The first suggestion is asterisk not to isolate yourself when making decisions asterisk. Listen to suggestions and criticisms from others. When you have to face decisions, questioning or doubting your own intuition can make you uncomfortable. But you need to know that most of us find it easier to recognize others' mistakes than our own. So, welcome others' opinions more when making decisions. The author's second suggestion is the premortem. It might sound a bit scary, but it actually means that when we make a decision, first assume that the event will fail. Then, write down the reasons that could lead to this failure in a way you understand. By doing this, you can remind yourself to plan ahead, thereby increasing the success rate in your work and your decisions. So, these are the most concise summaries I've gathered from this book. Once again, I think we must thank the author, Daniel Kahneman, as well as the translators and publishers of Asterisk Thinking, Fast and Slow Asterisk. And finally, remember the words in this book. Humans have two systems of thought, the intuitive system and the rational system, and irrationality is the basis for most of our actions. Remember this statement to remind yourself to slow down and focus to engage your rational system before making a decision. Thank you for listening. If you found this video helpful, please share it with someone who needs it. Support me with a like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to catch my latest videos every week. And if you have any feelings or thoughts you'd like to share, please leave them in the comment section below. Goodbye and see you in the next videos.